life expectancy continues to rise, with the world's population retirement age expected to hit 1.5 billion by the year 2050. For life science company Bayer, they're using their 150-year history and core competencies to improve patient outcomes. Coming up, we'll find out how. I'm Greg Fairley. Welcome to 50 MENA Leaders. Great. Well, Henrik Wulff, great to see you, and welcome to 50 MENA Leaders.
Well, thank you for having me.
Can you just, first of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your role here at Bayer?
Yeah, I can. I'm 65. I'm Danish. Worked in Bayer for 22 years. Been in other companies before I joined Bayer. And have had the pleasure of, or the challenge, or the opportunity to lead different countries for the pharmaceutical division. So I've done jobs in Ireland, I've done jobs in Poland, in a cluster like Scandinavia, in a cluster like the Nordics. And since 5 years, I've come to Dubai to lead Bayer, not only the pharmaceutical division, but also the bigger parts of Bayer for the Middle East.
I mentioned in my introduction an interesting figure, which is that the world's retirement age population, will reach 1.5 billion by the year 2050.
Yeah.
So there's a growing number of people in the world in general.
Yeah.
What challenges does that present for you at Bayer?
Well, first of all, it's all about really looking at it and trying to talk about what will this mean. I mean, the population will go up by about 2 billion over the next 20 years, and of course, also age will change. So we will be much more elderly people. So people above the age of 60, 65, and when people get to that age, it's typically when they start to develop chronic diseases. It's typically when cardiovascular diseases hits them. It's typically when cancer hits them. So you will get a much, I would say, in relevant terms, much bigger disease burden in an aging population, and that is growing bigger. So I think, not only are we dealing with the challenge of almost having a population increase of 30% over the next 20, 25 years, which by itself is an enormous challenge, not only in healthcare, but also in other parts. So just about how do we feed the world? How do we feed the world sustainably? What technologies do we need to develop actually to help us feed the planet? And I think this about feeding the planet has become a big topic now after the Russian-Ukrainian war, where we see prices on wheat and other corns are just going through the roof because of not enough volumes. And so this is probably a point where we all really have to wake up and say, whoa, what's going to happen when we're 2 billion more? But coming back to the aging population and healthcare, well, we will have to sort of reinvent ourselves. But I think we are on very good track.
You touched on the importance of technology in order to achieve these goals.
Yeah.
Tell us more about how digital and technology is changing your business.
Well, I mean, it changed our business in different parts. Now, I represent a sales and marketing organization, headquarters out of Dubai, covering Middle East. And we have, for years actually, been talking about, do we offer the right services to our customers? Is it a modern way of servicing our customers by actually going to visit them in their hospitals, in their clinics, and talk to them about various therapeutic options? Now, that has been the model for many years, where we actually moved ourselves from A to B and went to see the doctor one-to-one, very typically. Then, as we all know, you get into 2020, and 2020 was, March, I think it was around that time, the world come to a closure because of COVID. Now that, of course, also meant that we were not able to go and see our customers the way we did in the past. So we really had to reinvent ourselves. So we started, and we were one of the first companies out in servicing our customers in a virtual room. So we met them, so Teams, Zoom, but also other rooms that we created. And we have discovered that not only can we service our customers better this way by doing it virtually, but we can also give them much better experiences because we can bring them together across the world. And I remember in particular on one occasion, we had some doctors from Dubai. We put them in this virtual room. Basically, they were all sitting at home, but we brought them into this virtual room, and then we introduced 2 professors from the US, and they were just blown away with the fact that they were now sitting with some of the most prestigious opinion leaders within their specialty of this world. And they said, wow, if you can do that, then I really want to, get more of this. So I think out of this have come this new way of servicing customers and really trying to switch it from very analog channels, face-to-face, one-to-one, to actually start to service them in a more digital space.
Henrik, what's happening with something we've heard a lot about over the years, which is cell and gene therapy innovation? And what's Bayer doing to produce that innovation?
I think that's sort of it is putting out such a big promise, because with gene editing, which is basically only about 4 or 5 years old, and stem cell therapies, we can now see, we can maybe even touch it. We can see that we will go from treating diseases to curing diseases. I just became a grandfather, and I can tell you, I am not at all worried about my grandchild ever dying from cancer.
Wow.
When she reached my age, I don't think we have cancer any longer.
Interesting.
Or rather, we can manage cancer. We can maybe manage the disease, or we can cure the disease. And I think these new technologies...
That's all forms of cancer.
Well, all forms of cancer. I mean, cancers are, we have about 9 to 10 million cancers worldwide. About 1/3 is dying from the disease, so it's a big medical issue that we are not good at treating cancer. But just in the last 5-6 years, I mean, we have seen the birth of immuno-oncology, which is already now curing. We have a product in Bayer, a product that if you are a patient of the right type, in terms of how you're composed genetically, and you get this drug, in case you have cancer, you are being cured. We have 2 examples from Saudi Arabia where we actually cured 2 babies. It's just, knowing these stories and knowing that our team in Saudi Arabia stands behind this and actually making it possible for this baby to get the medicine, is just so, so heartwarming. And I think cell and gene, we in Bayer, we are in a matter of, I would say, not many years, but many months. So in a matter of a few years, we have now become one of the leading factors in gene editing and stem cell therapy. We have acquired companies. We have adapted our R&D model. We are now much more working collaborative with an ecosystem of startups, and so we have acquired majority shares in a few companies that is really promising. So Ask Bio and Blue Rock, and in particular Blue Rock is now in phase 1 in Parkinson. We are getting a readout of the data, I think within months. Now, will we have the treatment of Parkinson? We'll have to see. But just the fact that we are now doing this in Parkinson is just an amazing thing, because there has been nothing in Parkinson for many years, and so many people.
So people could actually just take a drug and
Well, it's not quite that simple, but yes, the possibility of curing or restoring the brain function is there, and that's the ambition behind this particular initiative. But you can so in old days, and old days I don't mean when I was born. I mean old days, just maybe 10 years ago. When we developed products, we were talking about developing a new antihypertensive, developing a new molecule that would do something in a very particular disease area. Now that is changing now, because gene editing is not about one disease, it's about many diseases. So now when you master stem cell therapy, when you master gene editing, that technology can be used across many diseases. And that is fascinating, because it turns our research totally upside down. And I have to admit, I don't know what next therapeutic area will be the one of Bayer, because it depends on where the technology takes us. Very different to old days. And I have to admit, most fascinating time of my life in healthcare is probably the fact that in a matter of very few years, we will see some breakthroughs that nobody would have expected just 5 years ago. So, I often say the world has never been better. It's, the world today, as we speak, is better than it was yesterday. I know it doesn't sound that or look that way when you open the papers and all that, but in the bigger picture, it's exactly what it is. We progress positively as a species. We become better and better, and I think we see technologies is just driving us or helping us, enabling us to do something that people say, wow, that is so profoundly much better than yesterday.
Phenomenal amount of work and amazing research going on in the healthcare sector. But if you were to sort of nail down one particular scope or topic or something to highlight in the future, what would it be?
Well, what excites me the most is this whole concept of going from treatment to curing. Again, I don't think it's far away, not in all diseases, of course, and probably we will discover once we master all the diseases we know today, there will be other diseases popping up, and popping up in a population age like from 110 to 130. Because again, my granddaughter that was born 2 weeks ago, her lifetime expectancy is more than 100 years. And 50 years from now, why would we not? I mean, you talked about 1.5 billion elderly people. The next batch of the 1.5 that moves up and become a new 1.5 billion, they probably only have really serious problems when they exceed 100. So that's the fascinating part of where we are going. We will be a more healthy, aging population of these 1.5 aged 65 and more. Well, I can say fascinating world with a lot of promise.
It's been fantastic talking to you, learning so much. Henrik Wulff, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Great. Well, Mohamed Galal, really good to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Greg.
Welcome to 50 MENA Leaders.
Thank you.
Can you just, first of all, briefly just tell us a little bit about yourself and your role here at Bayer?
I'm a pharmacist by background, Egyptian. I worked in Middle East for different countries. I worked in Kuwait, Jordan, Saudi, Egypt, and UAE. And I was lucky that I started with pharma business and then I moved to consumer health business. So I have relatively diversified experience in country level and on industry level as well. This helped me too much to understand the market, understand the people dynamics, different country culture, and helping me as well to put some aspect how to work in Middle East and create synergy for doing business in such markets.
Let me ask you first about what Bayer is actually providing for for consumers as part of its consumer health department.
Perfect. Let me take the opportunity in the beginning just to talk about a little bit the consumer health. What does it mean, consumer health? Maybe people heard about OTC business, consumer health, but what does it mean? Consumer health, this is way of dispensing products which increase accessibility for the consumers and for normal people to improve their daily life. So it's not related to prescription products. So prescription products, this is a products which you need authorized and valid prescription from healthcare professional, and this will not be dispensed without this prescription, which is not the case in consumer health. Consumer health, this is a widespread elements of life. We cannot say disease, it's just symptoms. If we are talking about acidity, some skincare products, some nutrition, so there is no need for prescription into this. Bayer had been more than since 1880s in globally. In Middle East, we had been founded in almost more than 90 years in Middle East. And nowadays we can see that Bayer still going and investing, establishing different business. We have our purpose, science for better life. So we are giving new products with innovation, not only for the products, but even for our resources and the way that we are reaching to the consumer. And we are investing in the region because Middle East, one of the regions where we see it's the highest growing region after Latin America. So most of the multinational focusing on this region. And one of our investment here in the countries, we are focusing in two main aspects, where we increased our supply chain footprint through different distribution centers in Egypt and in Saudi Arabia. In addition to that, we have legal entities in Egypt, in Saudi, in Emirates, of course, our main headquarters, in addition to Jordan. So the company, usually we are looking how we increase our presence and our footprint in the region. So this through continuous support for how we can reach to our consumer in easiest way, and how we can be accessible and giving our consumer different options and different solutions to improve their daily life. Usually consumer health, we are talking about the self-healthcare or self-personalized health. So we are not talking mainly about diseases. That's why we can be available easily for each family in each home. So we are trying to increase our innovation to improve our daily life for our consumer here in Middle East.
So if there are massive advances in the platforms and the trends, how is Bayer kind of taking advantage of that or utilizing it to its best advantage?
Actually, during the last couple of years and even before COVID, Bayer started globally and here in Middle East in different digital and online platforms with the objective of using the technology and getting the advantage of technology, how we can reach to our consumer and to our customers. Maybe our interest and our customer interest before COVID, it was not on the same level, but with COVID, Bayer luckily was one of the companies who was ready for this revolution, so we started very early. And the main objective for us to give the information, scientific information to our consumer in easy way, in reachable and accessible way, in the way that he would like to get benefit. And when we are talking about COVID, we need very short message in 15 seconds or 30 seconds to be reached to our consumer through different channels, which was very new for us. We learned it from different industries like FMCG, and we took lots of tips from them how we can accelerate our process, because the main difference between FMCG and the consumer health company is the speed of action. Okay, we are coming from very conservative industry, which is the pharma business, and they are coming from more liberal industry. So nowadays we can see this mix and creating a new umbrella of consumer health business. Bayer partnered already with lots of new platforms in the market, how we can reach to our physicians, for example, for healthcare professional through tele-prescription or tele-promotion. We have lots of webinars as well with people, and this is something, again, it's another dream. If we were talking to healthcare professional to attend webinar online, maybe we might invite 100, 10% maximum will respond. But now 100, we can receive 120 because they are talking to each other to contribute into this. So it became the preferable way of communication and this will continue during the upcoming period. It's not only for different platforms how we can reach the healthcare professional, but also for our consumer. So we have lots of consumer events where we have very nice speakers talking with the consumer for their daily life, how they can improve their daily life, how they can take precautions or taking more advantage to improve their daily health. And we can see this is improving. Now, almost after COVID stage, we can see we are working in hybrid model. And this will continue forever because this put new standard and more efficient, which surprisingly, okay. And I think all parties now, they are fascinated with this new approach, and we can see courage from different stakeholders. Either we are talking about healthcare professional or consumer, people, companies, even because in some incidences it costs millions for companies. So now we are taking this saving and investing more into research, innovations, new solutions for the consumer. So we can see now different mix for the investment, how we can invest differently and properly to reach to our consumer, because by the end our consumer is our main target. How we can reach them, giving them the proper products, proper information, proper resources to increase their prophylaxis and increase their everyday health.
So would you say, just finally, that the consumer stands to benefit from the changes that we've been seeing in the last few years?
100%. And that is the mix for everything, mix of innovation, mix of the new technology, mix of the restrictions, because usually restrictions come up with some positives. So I do believe now the information, the awareness, the scientific information, it became very important and crucial to be reached easy to the consumer. And here I would like to thank as well the healthcare professional, because their continuous guidance for their consumer, it leads them gaining a trust in the consumer health company, trust in the consumer health products. Now we are talking about different categories, which is almost the widespread elements in the daily life: nutrition, multivitamins, allergy, skincare, prenatal multivitamins. So lots of initiative had been now, and cardiovascular protection, which is very, very important element as well. And all this, it's in favor of the consumer and in favor in the markets as well. Because one of the most advantages for the consumer health industry, it's a saving for the health authority as well. Because in case we will be able to control, early control some diseases, this will improve the quality of life, increase the productivity as well, and will reduce the health institutions' cost. Because the consumer at this stage, he will no need to go more into to meet healthcare professional or doing investigations. So are relatively have different objectives to support consumer, to support healthcare professional, and to provide more scientific and medical information to the consumer in proper way.
Fantastic. Incredible to hear how far advanced the consumer health sector is advancing in the future. Amazing. Mohamed, Galal, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you very much. Have a good day.